You're listening to the Roofing Success Podcast, a show created to inspire roofing contractors to achieve optimal success in their roofing businesses. I'm the host, Jim Moline, the co-author of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. I'm also the co-founder of Roofer Marketers, the digital marketing agency for the roofing industry. On each episode, I'll be sitting down with industry leaders to talk about their processes, the lessons they've learned, and how to find success in roofing. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. As always, please follow, share, like, comment. And if you want to continue the conversation beyond what you're hearing on the podcast, go to Facebook, type in Roofing Success, and join the Roofing Success Facebook group. Today, I'm excited to talk to a top 100 roofing contractor, Inc. 5000 roofing contractor. It's a story. It's a long story, or a story of a well-built company over time, right? Starting off as subcontractors and building it into a full direct to consumer, direct to homeowner retail roofing company. We're here with Conie Greenawalt of Greenawalt Roofing. How you doing today?
I'm good, Jim. How are you?
Awesome. So for our listeners, tell people a little bit about the story of Greenawalt and how you guys.
Absolutely. So my husband actually started the company back in 2004. He had been doing some roofing for a buddy of his. He was an actual installer, and he was kind of more of a lead within the company. And he just kind of realized that there were different ways to do things, and he wanted to go out on his own and see if he could do it himself and really create a successful business. So for the next few years, he did a lot of subcontract work to help build up the company. He had his team of guys that he worked with and everything, and we did a lot of work for the local roofing companies in the area. And then in 2010, we really restructured the company, and we brought on, employees and started marketing to the Lancaster area that you can call Greenawalt Roofing directly for your roofing needs. So that's where it really started. And then over the next couple of years, we grew, year over year, we continue to grow. In the beginning, I think, we were in a home office and it was my husband and I, and we might get like 3 or 4 leads a week. And we're like, yay, like this is awesome. And now we're getting, 3 to 4 leads, every 2 hours, some days, it's crazy to see how far we've come. So we definitely started out small and, here we are.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys have had an amazing journey. I mean, to get to, the roofing contractor top 100, like that, you guys have done a lot of things right. And I'm sure that you've learned a lot of lessons along the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest lessons that we learned is, you got to try it to find out. So especially like in marketing, we're always open to new ideas, and it's the worst thing that's going to happen. It's not going to work. And then we kind of revisit and refocus our areas. But I mean, I think having that flexibility in our business model, and even within the office and our structure with our staff, we tell everybody, like, we're constantly changing. Like, this is what your duty is today. Don't be surprised if I come in tomorrow and tell you we're doing it a little bit differently, because at the end of the day, we just want to make sure that that our customers are satisfied with our services. So if there's any small tweak that we need to do for our day-to-day basis, we're going to do it.
Yeah. So being customer focused, I hear that from a lot of successful roofing companies, right? It's taking care of your customers, making sure that you're doing the right things for them. Is that how you guys have, positioned yourself to the market? And do you guys do residential and commercial, just residential? We
do residential and commercial. I mean, we really advertise focused towards the residential market, but we still fall into some commercial work as well. We won't turn it down. We just did, a 100 square roof down the street of EPDM rubber and stuff. So we're definitely open to it. It's just not where we focus all of our marketing efforts.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd say, my husband, since he started the business, our name is Greenawalt. We're Greenawalt Roofing Company. It kind of you got to make sure that everyone's happy at the end of the day. And he truly has that mentality. We have 3 kids, and there's nights that it's 9 o'clock at night and he's talking to a customer because they have a concern or something. And he just wants to make sure that they have peace of mind. We abide by the 24-hour response time. So if a customer calls or emails and we're not able to get to them right away, we need to return their call or emails within 24 hours because, they are important to us. I know there's some companies, even outside of the roofing industry, that it's all about the money and, let's get the job done, let's get paid, and let's move on to the next. And I can honestly say that that's something that I really admire about Travis and how he built the business up and made sure that that's not how Greenawalt is.
Yeah. So who's like your target market? Who's your perfect customer?
We don't discriminate. We like all customers. Everybody's, yeah. But I'd say, typically our customers are, anyone between the age of 30 and 70 who, they need a roof. I wouldn't say there's a direct, target customer, because if you need a roof, it's one thing you can't really ignore the necessity of it, which is nice, especially, through, COVID, or you know what I mean? Like everybody needs a roof. Yeah. So, but I'd say, we're typically dealing with middle-aged homeowners. And we deal with people that need a roof because it's 20 years old and it's just reaching its age, or we do insurance work as well. So if there's a hailstorm, windstorm, tree falls down, we work directly with the homeowner and we kind of help out with the insurance process and making sure that their roof is restored or their home is restored to the pre-storm conditions.
Yeah, for sure. How do you guys position yourselves in the market? I know, your name is on your business, right? So
yeah.
is that part of the way that you're marketing to people is saying, hey, this is our family business. We are, going to be here to help you in the future. What kind of, how do you position yourself that way?
Yeah, we definitely utilize that because I think it's important for people to understand, like, we're not going anywhere. A lot of companies fail within the first couple of years. We've got past that point. We're pretty, moving forward pretty solidly here. So we just want people to have peace of mind that, if something happens, whether it's next year or 10 years from now, like someone's going to be here. We actually have one advertisement that we put out. We have our company vehicle. We have Silverados that are white. So we got the boys' little ride-on trucks and tagged them up with logos and have them sitting in the truck. And it's like, there's no job too small, or we'll be here for years to come. Like, we're going to stick around and we're going to make sure that if there's any issues down the road, we can take care of them. And, we're a 5-star certainty contractor. So we have real close relationships with them. If there's any manufacturer issues, it's a quick phone call. Our reps meet us out on site with the homeowner. We're just making sure that everyone's taken care of from beginning to end.
That's awesome. And that's a great focus to have. And I think in our previous conversation that we had, we were talking about, like, and I think you mentioned it in the intro, about when your husband kind of just noticed that things could be done better.
Right.
On the job sites, right? He was an installer and he's looking around going, man, this isn't right.
Yeah. And not to talk down upon other people or that he's like some godly human. But yeah, it's kind of like if you're able to take things in your own hand and just create a better experience, he really wanted to be able to do that. For sure. And that's a great foundation to lay in any business, right? Is your customer service and doing that. So what type of marketing have you guys do now? What's what's working for you now? Sure. So our top lead source is referrals. So just creating that relationship with the customer and making sure that they're happy. That's what ignites them to tell someone else about their experience, whether it's outright like, hey, I just had my roof done by Greenawalt. If you need your roof, give them a call, or they overhear someone that needs a roof or something, then they mention it. We do have a referral program that they can fill out, and we send out Visa gift cards to them for their referrals, just as like an appreciation. Internet leads are big, and that's just, a lot of that comes from just the website itself. And then, Facebook, Google ads, all that sort of stuff. Yard signs are a big one for us. So we put yard signs in at time of signing for the insurance jobs. We put them in during install for our retail jobs. But it just kind of gets people talking and shows a presence in the area. And I think especially when it comes to storm, because there's so many different contractors that are going to be out chasing, we keep our footprint local to our company. So if there is an issue, they know that we're going to be here because our office is within a certain radius. So it's not like we're going out up to Maine when a storm hits and then we're going to leave and then they're kind of on their own. So that really helps. And previous customers, we get a lot of return customers, whether it's for, let's add on siding, gutters, or something like that. We do postcard mailers, we do billboards, we have radio. I mean, we're either doing it or we've done it at some point, I would say.
And that's what it takes a lot of times. I like that. I like that your number one lead source is referrals, right? Mm-hmm. But even though that's your number one lead source, you're still doing a lot of other marketing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, to me, I like to ask people, how do you get a referral? Well, first you do work for someone, right?
And make sure they're happy, right?
Make sure they're happy. And I, the marketing side, the radio, the Facebook, the postcards, the signs in the yard, all of those things are to acquire new people, new customers that you provide a good experience to, who can then refer more,
yeah,
right? Like,
absolutely.
And if you do a good job of it, which you guys are obviously doing, if that's a main source of your leads is from referrals at the size of your company, that's amazing, right? So going along with that, how do you look at like the radio ads and the Facebook and the postcards? Why do you continue to do that stuff? You're just getting referrals.
So we always say we know that you need to spend money to make money. So, even in the downtime when we know that maybe our return's not going to be as high as we would like it to be, we recognize that it's still branding. We had billboards up. We were actually the first roofing contractor in the area to run billboards like many years ago. And our sales rep tells us, he's like, I tell the story every time we sit down at a convention about, I remember being in your home office with your little baby and we were throwing up boards, and now a lot of roofing contractors do it. He's like, you guys really got it booming. And the one thing we heard from having these billboards up is people would be like, oh my gosh, we see you everywhere. And we weren't everywhere. I think we had an 8-board run up at that time, but as you're driving around, if you see 2 boards, you kind of almost assume that, like, oh my gosh, there they are again. So, well, we do get people that call in and say, hey, I saw your billboard, and that's what they'll say their referral sources. It's still branding that. Then when they open up the magazine and see Greenawalt Roofing, they're like, oh my gosh, I saw them before. So just having that mindset that not every dollar that you spend is going to be a direct return, within 30 days, I think is important, because you're getting that recognition out there, and you're almost larger than life at that point with all the different avenues.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with another digital marketing agency owner, and we were talking about, there was a study that was done that, and this is more on the B2B side, but I would assume that it's similar on the B2C side, where like 70% of the buying decision is done before someone calls, right? And the perception of your company in the marketplace is extremely important, right? Like, when someone says, I see you everywhere, that's a big thing. Like, that's a people buy from who they know, like, and trust. And so first of all, they know you because they see you everywhere, right? Then you just have to get them to like you. And there's probably a great level of trust that's established in that branding at the same time. For sure. And so you guys don't think of it as, as just lead generation.
Right.
That's what I hear that a lot from successful companies. They have a mindset that's bigger than today.
Yeah. Right? And you almost have to, or you're going to be let down and you're going to be frustrated and you're going to stop everything altogether. And I mean, that's not moving you in any good direction either.
That's right. And that's a big thing for people to understand. you know, and you have to ask yourself, I guess, what are you in this for? Are you in it for the long run? Or are
Yeah.
you just trying to have
Phone
make
rings
some money
tomorrow.
and buy a
Yeah.
new boat and get out, right? Like there's, are you in it for the long run? Do you, for you guys, as a family business, does this, is this something that you would hope that your children, become a part of over time?
Yeah, absolutely. I have one who like can't wait to drive the roll-off trucks, and I've got another one who's more like, I just want to chill in the office and
Yeah.
watch YouTube videos. I think he's convinced that's what we do all day. And then our youngest is 21 months, and he'll do whatever his brothers are doing. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely hope to have this company that the three of them can run together and
Yeah.
continue this success.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Like that would be such a cool thing. I've interviewed a few people that have come from those types of family businesses, right? That
Yeah.
their father, grandfather even sometimes started the business, and then it morphed into this, and now they took over, and it would be a really cool story to tell. But so then, you guys do what percentage of retail and storm restoration work do you
I
guys
mean,
do? I mean, I guess
honestly,
it depends on the year.
it does. I mean, there's sometimes we swing like 60% storm, 40% retail, and then storms slow down and we're doing 80% retail, 20% storm. So I mean, it really varies year to year. And this past year, well, last year we opened a second location out in Pittsburgh, and that was mainly storm business to begin with, but then now we're starting to build that brand and build a reputation out in that area. So we're seeing the retail, as the storm simmered out past the year date, we're seeing the retail leads still rolling in. So we kind of expected the market to grow a little bit slower. Just same thing when we started here back in 2010, the phone wasn't ringing off the hook. You got to build it up slow. But having that supplemental storm side of things is really helpful. And again, having that permanent location, these people know that, when the storm's over, we're still a phone call away.
So because being in Pennsylvania and not knowing, like if you're in Dallas, you almost know that a storm is coming through, right? If you're in certain markets, a storm is coming through. With being in Pennsylvania, a storm could, you may have some storms, you may not have some storms. So that swings and varies.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage that on your sales team? Because when a storm hits, you need boots on the ground, and hitting those neighborhoods hard. But when there's not a storm, how do you keep those, keep it going for those
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been pretty lucky, I'd say. Like, there's been an active storm to work pretty steadily.
Okay.
Maybe not a huge storm, but at least something. But our guys will go out and look into like pockets of wind, and we'll get calls in from customers, just, local company, hey, I think I need a shingle replaced, and we go out and see like, hey, this is wind damage and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's definitely a downfall between storms a little bit. So the guys get to relax a bit, but, we're able to keep them staffed and rolling through storm to storm.
Okay, cool. And then do you have them, hey, okay, so we don't have, or a super active storm right now, or there's, just this small pocket right now. What else are your salespeople doing on an ongoing basis to help generate revenue for them, generate business? Are they out, are they out there, building relationships in the community? What else do you encourage them to do?
Yeah, so like our retail guys, they're busy pretty much year round. But if you want to talk more storms specifically, they're still expected to have and continue their relationship with customers after the job's completed. So we don't want the customers to feel like, okay, this guy sold me my roof and then he's on to the next guy. So we're implementing some processes here that once the job's done, even though he doesn't take part of the production aspect, we have production managers that run the job and all that sort of stuff. Even though he's out of the picture at that point, he's still gaining from that customer, and he still had that one-on-one relationship with them in the beginning of everything. So once the job's paid in full, they'll reach out and say, hey, John, how was your experience? I saw everything's paid up, your warranty's in the mail. Like, do you have any other questions? Or, remember, we do siding if you give us a call, or if you see a neighbor, we have a referral program, and just kind of keeping us top of mind for the customers. And then, like I said, they'll scout for pockets if they're driving down the street and they see, this roof has shingles blown up, just being able to relay that into our sales manager, who can then get into marketing to kind of target those areas and stuff like that.
Nice. So it's always looking for new opportunities, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we want them to succeed also. Like, it's not about the company, you know what I mean? It is, but like, we need to give them the tools they need to succeed in order for the company to succeed, and vice versa. So it's a really equal relationship there. We give them leads as they come in. They create their own leads to continue to build on it. We built the brand, the name, the company. We've got the vans that they drive, and all that sort of stuff. So it's just kind of, they kind of keep things rolling just till the next storm hits, and then we're out. Not out, but we're on to the next focus
for sure.
area.
You kind of mentioned, you said our retail salespeople. Do you separate them into storm damage salespeople and retail salespeople?
We do, only because the processes is different. The insurance guys know that they're going to be working with the adjuster, and they're going to be making sure that all the line items are covered, and there might be supplements passed through on the back end through the office and stuff like that. And the retail person, they take the time to kind of go through and let them know, like, okay, you called me out for an estimate because you're not sure if you need a roof or not. Well, here are the problems that I found, or, you know what, you're good for another year or two. If now's not financially the time for you to move forward, make sure we're honest with the customers, because we don't want to sell them something that they don't need. And then when they do need it, they're going to call us back because we didn't tell them, oh, you need your roof and you don't. So there's just two separate selling points. I mean, at the end of the day, they're still letting everyone know why to go with Greenawalt Roofing. We're trusted, we're acknowledged in the industry and stuff like that. But just the different techniques, I would say, keep things separate.
Have you found, I don't know, different personality types or things like that work better in those different roles? Like, what do you look for in a storm restoration salesperson?
In a storm restoration salesperson, I would say, because we would totally welcome some females in here, but I feel like they're a little bit more energetic. They kind of hit the ground running. They're open to scouting new areas, and like, it's more exciting for them. Our retail guys are a little bit more seasoned in the industry. It's easier to take a new sales guy and train them through the storm processes because there's so many touch points along the way. Whereas when you're selling retail, you have to be so knowledgeable in the product that people are requesting, and just have that extra experience. So I would say that's the big differentiation between the two, the knowledge. While we train the storm guys to become knowledgeable, the requirements for a retail guy is definitely higher with the background than the storm.
So if you're hiring on the retail side, are you looking for someone that has industry experience?
Yeah.
How is that? How do you break their bad habits?
A lot of hand slapping. I'm just kidding. We continue to really explain why we're requiring them to do things the way that we do things. And it's a company policy. And unfortunately, if you can't follow the rules, then maybe it's not a good fit for you. But, we always tell the guys, we're going to try this for 30 days, right? And if you can honestly come back and tell me that what we implemented has not helped you, then we'll stop doing it. But we haven't gone back on too many things. I mean, we definitely change up our system. Like, before, the guys would hand measure roofs. Now we're using hover. So, like, moving along with the times, things definitely change. But like I said, their interest is our interest. So
and in doing that, so it sounds like you guys have set up a lot of processes and systems on the back end to support this.
Yeah, our bookkeeper tells me every day, she's like, you could make millions if you just publish like all of the stuff that you've created from like documents and spreadsheets and processes. She's like, it's crazy. And I was like, I mean, you're giving me too much credit. But yeah, I feel like there has to be a process because our day-to-day life in here is so busy and so hectic that like if I don't literally check off that I completed the task that I'm in the middle of doing, when I'm done talking to the person that ran upstairs and needed me, I'm like, wait a minute, did I do that? Did I not do that? So it's just kind of moving things through the system and the process and making sure that everything gets handled because that's what's going to portray to the customer that they are valued, they are one of our customers, we do care about them, and making sure that they're not slipping through the cracks or anything like that.
Yeah. What's one of the kind of systems that you've put in place that you think that's more unique than?
Um, we use, I mean, maybe this isn't unique, but like at our old office, we literally had these huge white dry erase boards on the wall. And we used post-it notes, stickies to
Uh-huh.
schedule our jobs because with the rain and teams and stuff like that. So when we moved over, we decided we'd, come up to speed with the times. So we use a digital whiteboard where we kind of have our scheduling in there and it's sticky notes, but I mean, it works for us because I have yet to find a software system that tells me the information that I need when scheduling. Like they tell you that John's roof is ready to install, but I need to know how many square is John's roof and where is it located? And does it tie in with the container that we're running out the day before? And can our crew get it done in 1 day or 2 days? What's the weather like? So we really utilize that. And I think that's probably one of our strong points as far as the scheduling aspect that we have yet to find within any softwares that we've come across.
Yeah, scheduling is important. And then I think that in doing scheduling well, you're really it really sets the stage for the customer experience.
Yeah.
Right? When you can rely very detailed data to them about when and how and who and all of those key things that now they have a better experience because things happen, right? Things
Yeah.
come up, rain,
Yeah, we
like,
have no control.
yeah. So there's but having all of those details it gives you the ability to relay that information to a customer. The worst thing and we hear it too many times, phone calls coming in of, hey, you said this, but I haven't heard from you.
Yeah.
Those types of things.
Those
It's
are
like,
yeah. And I mean, it happens. And,
it
like you said,
does.
with the rain and everything. And right now with the material shortages that we're facing from the aftermath of COVID, like it is tough. And I feel like sometimes the customers don't fully understand
That's
what
right.
we're facing to try to get their project completed. But we always tell our sales guys, be upfront and honest. Don't tell them we're going to get them in 2 weeks if we can't get the product in for 6. You have to let them know this is what's going on. We're looking at 6 to 8 weeks, but if your product comes in 4 weeks, I'm calling you and we're throwing it on. Nobody's going to be mad that we got it done in 4 weeks instead of 6, but they're going to be pissed when 8 weeks rolls around and they haven't heard from us to see what's going on. So we put in place a 3-point touch system with our production team. So when it gets passed to production, once the job is approved, all the orders are built, everything's good. We call the customer and say, hey, listen, our install timeline's looking at, 3 to 4 weeks. We'll give you a call kind of to touch base and let you know what we're looking at. Then our second touch point is that either 2 to 3 weeks to let them know, hey, we're on track for next week, or no, we are kind of behind schedule. We had 5 rain days or jobs are longer, or whatever. And then we tell them what their next tentative week is. And then that next time that we call them, we're saying, listen, we're set for next week. We've got you on board for Tuesday. You know what I mean? We need to keep that communication open with them.
Yeah,
And it's worked fairly well. We've done a lot of juggling because then people are like, well, Tuesday doesn't work. And, we try to accommodate people the best that we can, but we've got a bunch of teams that we need to kind of work with and location wise, keep things that make the most sense for us. So.
for sure. And but that communication, it's in the communication is how the customer perceives you. It will make a difference every time. And so what else are you doing in your production process that kind of creates those raving fans and brings in those referrals?
Um, we have our own dumpster trucks. So the day before the job or the morning of, depending on location and how many jobs we have going on, our employee will go out and drop off the container. And then when the job is completed, they get notified, and either that day or the following day, they go out and pick it up. But that allows us to, one, not have to worry about when, the disposal company is able to fit it in and the dumpster's sitting in the customer's driveway for a week and they're mad and calling. And so it takes that aspect away from it, but it also allows them to then do kind of quality control. So they do a walk around, they double check for magnet sweeps. They check to make sure that, there's no debris that was left over, take a look and make sure, the flashing's laid correctly, there aren't any shingles that may have been stuck up and stuff like that. So that is very helpful, because if there is an issue, we can kind of recognize it before the homeowner and we can get it taken care of. So I'd say that's probably a good thing that we have in place.
How many checklists do you have for that process? I don't know. It just sounds like you'll have a lot.
For the pickup checklist, I mean, it's fairly minimal.
Each of those, right? Each of those processes have a kind of a checklist, right?
They do. Like
the dumpster delivery process, does that have a checklist?
Yes and no. Like they know what's expected. So we have, my husband hates it because we still use paper, even though we're trying so hard to go paperless. I still need physical paper because I need to touch something to make sure that it's moving along. But yeah, they get their sheets and they know they load up the job. So we have a warehouse stocked with all materials except skylights and shingles and hip and ridge. So they load up the job, they take the dumpster out, they have those papers so they know at all time what dumpsters are out, who needs picked up, what needs done. They have to take their final photos when they're out there. They need to do their sweep, stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot of checklist, but we find that when there's not and there's no accountability, things are so quickly overlooked. So,
and that's the lesson there, is if you allow people to make up their own processes or to interpret your process, your customer experience is going to be an interpretation of that person's process, right? It's not going to be the process that you intended for the homeowner. So I mean, you have to be intentional with these things, and I was just guessing that you had checklists for it, but it's like just from our couple of conversations, it sounds like but being that detailed, where did you is this something that you guys have just done innately, or is it something that you have experience from putting together systems and processes, or
where did that come from? No experience. We take every downfall or problem or complaint or suggestion to heart. We never really outsourced our containers. We use roofers' buggies, and then we use trailers, like dump trailers and stuff. And then as the jobs got bigger, the guys were running out trailers, and it got to be too much with the volume that we were doing. So, my husband just sat down and really weighed the options. We could either outsource or we can put the investment into the company and do it ourselves. And while the investment upfront was much more than what we would be paying to have another company take the containers out, it gave us so much more control over the situation. You have those customers that are like, listen, I need this container gone tomorrow. And, we're out at 6:30 when the crew's closing out and we're picking up the container, because we want to make sure we can do everything we can to make sure people have that good experience. Not that all customers should call and tell us to get it at 6:30, because it is rough to manage with the schedules, but just being able to offer that if absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and that the homeowners, as much as they want their problem solved, they want you out of their houses or away from their house as fast as possible, right?
Yeah. They're like, why are you still here? But why are you coming back tomorrow to finish?
That's right. It's part of it. And so speed is part of the, being able to do all those things quickly is definitely important. But if you're relaying the information properly and you're setting the proper expectations, that's a part of it too, right? That, making sure that they understand that. You guys have done, you guys do a great job of getting reviews. You have, 150, 170 reviews, something like that. What do you guys do you have a specific effort that you put forth in to get those reviews? Are your salespeople or your production managers trained
Yeah,
in asking for those reviews?
we keep it with the production team only because they're the ones that are there involved with the build and the completion and everything. So they kind of start the conversation like, hey, you're going to get a review request. We'd appreciate it. You know, I think really in today's day and age, everyone's so busy. Like I'm excited about the reviews that we have, but like I said, I'm a mom of three. Like if you text me, like it could be 3 days till I even respond because I've got so much going on. So I feel like a lot of times people just don't have the time. Like we use a system that'll show you like it was read and it was open or they got this far and then it stopped. So there's a drip campaign to like kind of rehash it back out. I definitely think that's one thing that our guys could probably put a little bit more attention into to get more reviews, but I'm happy with how they're coming in.
Yeah, for sure. We were talking about also just kind of going back a little bit, in time, I guess. And, going from, we had talked the other day about like controlling your income too. Do you remember that? Like when you guys started out, like when you're being a subcontractor and things like that, it's hard to control your income when you're relying on other people's sales and hiring you and things like that. And then as your business grows, there are certain things that you need to do to control your income. How do you guys, you had said like you have a warehouse, you guys stock certain things, what are you doing on that end to make sure that you're ensuring profitability on all of your jobs? Like, is there certain things that you're doing on the kind of on the accounting side, I guess, right? Like to make sure that you have consistent profitability in the company?
Yeah, so every single job gets job costed before the commissions is paid out, before the final commissions is paid out. So we have an understanding of where it fell into place. Also, being able to utilize Xactimate kind of gives us an idea of, obviously it's not the end all be all, but it gives us an idea if we're in line with pricing. Being able to stock the warehouse allows us to get items in at a significantly lower rate because we're buying them in bulk versus picking up 10 pieces of drippage, for a shed roof here and there. So just really keeping a close watch on the bottom line and where our spend is, prices of materials, keeping up with. I have our suppliers send us monthly price updates just because I want to make sure that with the system that we use, the price is in there and then we base our estimates off of how much it cost us and whatnot. So we just want to make sure that they're up to date and just to kind of keep things rolling.
Yeah, for sure. And that's an important part of it. Like when you get to a certain size, like with you guys, right? Like when you get to a certain size, it's those details that matter, right? You can kind of make it work, when you're $1.5 million company or a $3 million company, maybe that does. But when you get to the 15, 20, $30 million range, like that's a whole, like there are details that you want to make sure that you are paying attention to. What are some of those things that have changed over the years that you guys have paid attention to? And just, I mean, whether it's processes or costs or different things that have been kind of have changed as you've grown?
That's a tricky one because I feel like we've always been on top of stuff the best that we can. Like my husband is very detail oriented and money oriented and making sure that things make sense. So that one's a little difficult. I'd say over the years, just being able to acquire, like to build the office and have the warehouse that allows us to stock more product. We get in truckloads of product sometime, or during COVID, we're like, literally give me all of your plywood that you have right now, because it used to cost $25 a sheet.
That's right.
And now it's like 60. So just being mindful of stuff like that and changes in the industry and costs and stuff like that. I think over the years, we've been able to take advantage of those. I know we mentioned.
I've heard that from a few people that that are more in your guys' revenue range, that especially during COVID and during some of these shortages, they were able to bulk purchase a lot of
Yeah.
things that really help make it through, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes writing those checks is scary though.
Yes. Yes, it is. But, we maintain a healthy company, which allows us to do so. So we know that, it's what makes the most sense. And it's not like we're going to be sitting on 200 pieces of plywood forever. So,
That's right.
it makes sense. But
It's
I know
going
you
out of
could.
it's going off the yard at some time, right? Like that
Yes,
it's
yeah.
getting out of the building at some
And
point.
I'd certainly rather write the big check now than have to send the guys to Lowe's or Home Depot as
For
needed
sure.
and spend $65 on a sheet of ply. Like
What
it's
would
not,
you say to the company that's smaller though that can't do that? Like what, I know it's a hard question, but for some of, before you get to that certain size, you have to be in a certain
yeah.
position,
And you
right?
need
To
to have
do
the
things
space
like
and stuff. So
that.
I would say, so before you're in a position where you can do that, maybe pick one item that you definitely utilize a lot of and use your buying power between suppliers and see, like, I can get it from here. I think I'm going to go there. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, I can get you a better price here. I mean, we've run into that a couple times, or with the size of our company, they want our business. They want
That's
to us to buy from them. So they come in with some deals and we swoop stuff up. So I just, use your leverage where you can. And like I said, you can even save on one item. So we do custom underlayment, and we buy that in bulk. If you can just kind of get a big one down, that is a little bit of savings that you're getting. And then as that continues to, as you continue to grow, add another item and add another item.
Yeah, for sure. So what, in as you guys have grown, you've now moved into the Pittsburgh market from the
Yep.
Lancaster market, right? What challenges have you faced moving into a new market?
I'd say just really understanding the marketing out there because it's so different from here. So we've ran some newspaper ads in Lancaster, and not that we didn't get a return on them. It was just, so.
Yeah.
We ran them out in Pittsburgh, and like people, it's like, oh my God, so people read the newspaper in Pittsburgh. People do not read the newspaper in Lancaster, apparently.
Yeah.
So just really being able to familiarize ourselves with what works out there and what doesn't. Not being from Pittsburgh, like we get the Clipper magazine here, and it has a prestigious living. So like we're familiar with what's coming through our mail and what people are paying attention to. So just really being able to learn that industry, or that location has been I'd say a struggle, but we're getting there.
I think that's interesting though, that you took something that didn't work in your area and you tried it again
Yeah.
in the new market.
You
Right?
never know. And it worked. I don't know if I told you the last time we talked. So we did a radio ad, gosh, it was probably like 5 years ago. And we were just on one of the local radio stations. The guy was talking about, oh, Greenawalt Roofing came out, did work for me, call Greenawalt. Again, we didn't see a huge return on it. So ESPN came out and they're like, we want you to be on the radio. And I'm like, I don't really have a good feeling about radio, but whatever, we gave it a shot. We're advertising on talk radio. People aren't changing the channel when they're listening to talk radio because that's what they're listening to. So, having an open mind and thinking past what you would do as an individual. Like, I don't listen to the radio. When I do listen to the radio, I change the channel when the commercial comes on. Whereas, a 45-year-old guy who loves the Eagles is listening to ESPN all day and, they hear Greenawalt. So just, you got to kind of throw it out there and see what works. And if it doesn't, just make sure you're tracking the lead sources, because if you don't see a return on it and you see, you can just kind of pivot that money, from that avenue to the next.
And I hear that a lot with business owners. It's like, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't buy from that ad. I wouldn't, right? And I'm like, but you're not selling to yourself.
Right.
Like there, well, who would ever choose a $99 a month financing option,
Mhm.
right? Like, who would ever do that? That must be someone who can't afford, like not my perfect customer. Like, you know how many people in middle income, upper middle class neighborhoods that need financing because they
Yeah.
bought the new truck and the new
Yep.
boat and the new, right? Like it may not resonate with you. You're not looking in that newspaper or that magazine or, or listening to that radio station or, but someone is,
Yeah.
right? And you won't know unless you try it. I had someone on recently who was talking about they call it an R&D budget. So a percentage of their marketing budget, they call like for research and development, a percentage of their budget every year goes to trying stuff.
Yeah,
right?
no, that's great. I mean, we're onboarding a new marketing individual here in the next couple of weeks, and like we just let her know, like, listen, you have an idea, we'll run with it. Again, we tell our sales guys, try this for 30 days, right? And if it does not bring you success or make you a better salesperson or make the experience better for the customer, then hey, what did we lose? 30 days of trying something. Same thing with advertising. I mean, maybe a little bit more than 30 days depending on what it is, but if it can bring us more customers, new customers, let's try it.
Yeah. But I still think that trying stuff that didn't work in the past, trying it again in a different market or trying it again in a different way, those are some of the things that you have to do, right?
Yeah.
You may have just been off by 1%, your message, your offer, something just might have been slightly off that now it's a slightly different offer and now people respond to it. It's that makes a huge difference. So in that, has it been a challenge for you, on the hiring side in the new market also? I find that happens sometimes, like, how did you find, because you're not there, right? So that's a change, right? That's a change when you're not in front of, the production manager and the salespeople and things like that on a day-to-day basis. What have you done in that regard to make sure that, that things are getting done right and that they're holding to the Greenawalt standard?
So we still oversee production and everything out of Lancaster. Like our production manager still oversees the production in Pittsburgh, just because you're right, it's hard in a new market to know what's going on. And if there was a disconnect, I feel like as the owners, I mean, we're going out to Pittsburgh the end of this week, but like to not be involved in the day-to-day, if we just kind of had Pittsburgh run with it, I feel like there would be too much disconnect with customers and expectations and stuff like that. So we still keep the oversight of production and everything in this local office. And when we have that fully staffed out there, we'll still continue. I mean, communication is key to continue to grow your business the way that you want it to grow. There really shouldn't be a difference between how our sales rep presents to a customer in Pittsburgh versus how they do it here, other than maybe he found us reading the newspaper or stuff like that. So
yeah. What do you think is the greatest insight that you could share with our audience that's helped, you and your husband find success in your roofing business?
Just honestly, when in roofing, you can only differentiate yourself in so many ways. Everybody's putting on a shingle, they're all lifetime warranty and stuff like that. So you really just have to sell yourself and make sure what you're selling, you're true to. So, customer service, set yourself apart with customer service, or, making sure people are confident in you, and you're just doing the best that you can to get recognized within the industry. Like I said, we're a Certainty 5-star contractor. We've gotten the Diamond Recognition Award the past, 4 or 5 years, and we're recognized in some of the local publications and stuff like that. So on just being true and honest and care about your customers at the end of the day. My other piece of advice is you never find time to do things, you have to make time, which I've learned the hard way. I'm always like, I'll do that then. And it's like, if I don't stop and do something right now, sometimes it just doesn't get done. Like, you're never gonna find time. If you do, let me know how, because I could use like 16 more hours in a day, but just make sure you're just on it and keep rolling.
Awesome. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. If you would like to generate more sales through your digital marketing efforts, please visit roofermarketers.com and get a copy of the book, Internet Marketing for Roofing Contractors, How to Triple Your Sales and Turn Your Roofing Website into an Online Lead Generation Machine. Also, check the training section of the website for guides on everything from running effective pay-per-click ads to how to properly set up your Google My Business listing. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thanks for listening.